When Tomorrow Comes, by Tony Gagliardi. Chapter 9. Trail of Echoes. The fire had burned down to pale ash, its thin smoke twisting upward into the early morning mist that clung to their makeshift camp. Around the dying embers, the survivors were awakening as the new day's light began to filter through. Leo stood at the edge of the camp, watching the children still curled in their salvaged blankets. His gaze lingered on Luca and Danny, his stepchildren, though the words still felt strange to him. Luca's arm was thrown protectively over his sister, even in sleep. The gesture twisted something in Leo's chest. Keep them safe, he thought, the words a constant drumbeat since the storm. That's all that matters now. But safe meant different things on this island. Safe from what? The weather? The Watcher? The truth that none of them knew how to get home? He turned back to the supplies, checking knots, organizing packs with gear. His hands moved automatically, a captain's hands, always checking, always preparing. The pilot's journal lay open on a salvaged crate nearby, where Leo had left it after studying their route. Beside it, the hand-drawn map pointed inland, toward uncertainty. Toward answers, maybe, or toward whatever had claimed Lieutenant Reed a century ago. Marina appeared beside him, securing her pack. "Big day ahead," she said quietly. Leo nodded, jaw tight. "I know." One by one, the others began to stir. Eva sat up first, immediately reaching for her notebook, as if confirming their situation hadn't been a dream. Sam rolled his shoulders, wincing at the stiffness from sleeping on sand and stone. DJ was already up, whistling softly as he coiled rope with practiced ease. It was time to wake the children. But something held Leo back. He stood there, watching them sleep, and felt the weight of what was missing. Not just the tomorrow, not just their way home. Matteo, the old storyteller who'd given them pirate names and mysterious maps, who'd disappeared below deck with his precious chest, never to surface again. Leo's expression darkened. They'd searched the wreckage, the beach, the tide line, found supplies, gear, even pieces of the ship. But not Matteo, and not the chest he'd guarded so carefully. One more look, Leo thought, before we head inland. He turned toward the beach path. "Going to check the shoreline again," he told Marina. "Wake them in 10 minutes if I'm not back." She nodded, understanding without words. Sometimes you had to search for what was lost, even when hope was thin. Leo disappeared around the rocks beyond the wreck of the Tomorrow that still lay hunched and scattered along the shoreline, searching one more time. Just as they began gathering the last of their gear, they heard footsteps, heavy, urgent, crunching through sand and shells along the beach. Leo appeared back at the camp, moving fast despite the weight in his arms. He saw them all awake and watching, his face breaking into something between exhaustion and triumph. "Found it," he called out. When he got closer, everyone stopped. He was carrying Matteo's chest, the same one he'd kept by his side since they'd left Crescent Cove. Dark wood, brass corners, with that compass rose latch he was always polishing. Leo set it down by the dying fire, breathing hard. Rock pool up the coast, wedged between two boulders. On top of the chest was another surprise he'd recovered, Sam's drone, its waterproof shell scratched but intact. "My drone," Sam said, eyes widening as he picked it up. The children were instantly on their feet. "Matteo's chest," Maya breathed. They all remembered how protective he'd been of it, how he'd never let it out of his sight. Leo remembered watching him clutch it as he disappeared below deck on the Tomorrow, never to surface again. "Is he—" Danny started, then stopped. Leo shook his head. "Just the chest. Tide must have carried it in." Noah bounced on his toes. "What's in it? Do you think there's treasure?" "Or maps," Luca added, his voice carefully controlled. Matteo always had maps. Isla moved closer, her voice soft. "It feels like he's still here." A moment of silence, remembering. They'd all wondered what Matteo had been protecting so carefully. Now they might finally know. Leo knelt beside the chest, working the compass rose latch, salt-crusted in the mechanism, making it stiff. The children pressed closer, forming a tight semicircle. "Is it locked?" Noah asked, leaning forward. "Just stuck," Leo muttered, applying gentle pressure. Don't want to force it and… Click. The latch gave way. For a moment no one moved. It felt too significant, too sacred. This chest had been Matteo's most guarded possession, and now… Eva knelt beside Leo, meeting his eyes with quiet understanding. She placed her hand gently on the lid. Leo nodded. Together they lifted it open. The inside was lined with oiled cloth, weathered but still protecting the contents. Nestled within lay Matteo's treasures, wrapped in soft linen. His ukulele, wood-weathered, strings dulled by age and salt, but whole. A tarnished gold pendant shaped like a ship's wheel with small stones set around its rim. Folded maps and documents, their parchment stiff with age, edges brown. Tucked among them a smaller piece that looked different, older, more yellowed with a torn edge. Eva lifted the smaller piece. As she unfolded it, the jagged edge looked familiar. "This looks like," she began, then stopped, studying it more closely. She could see pencil sketches on the yellowed paper, detailed drawings that looked important. The children leaned in, watching her face change. "What is it?" Maya asked softly. Eva's hands were steady, but her voice wasn't. "I need to check something." She reached for the pilot's journal in her pack. The others watched, barely breathing, as she opened it to the page where they'd found the tear. Eva held the loose paper up against the journal's ragged edge. Her fingers were steady, but everyone could see the tension in her shoulders. The edges met perfectly. "It's a match," she breathed. "This is the missing page from the pilot's journal." She carefully fitted it into place, the torn edges meeting like puzzle pieces. The journal was whole again. Noah bounced on his toes. "What's on it?" Eva angled the journal so they could all see. The morning light revealed pencil sketches, detailed, drawn by someone who needed to record exactly what they'd seen. Ships. But not like any ships they knew. Marina leaned closer, reading the notes written in the margins aloud. No propeller. No engine noises, silent. UFOs, Noah whispered, his finger hovering near a disc shape. Real flying saucers. Luca pointed to the cylindrical forms. These look different. Like submarines, but in the sky. Sam studied the sketches. He drew them going in different directions, some rising, others descending. "Coming and going from where?" DJ asked. "The mountain," Leo said quietly. He wrote they disappeared into the mist around the mountain. They all looked toward the mountain towering inland at the heart of the island, still shrouded in mist. Danny studied the drawings, her moon ring cold against her finger. Matteo had this. All this time, the weight of that realization settled over them. But how did he get it? Maya asked. If the pilot never made it off the island? Isla's small voice cut through. Maybe Matteo was here before. Everyone turned to look at her. "That's impossible," DJ started, then stopped. On this island, impossible had lost its meaning. "He had the missing page all along and never said anything," Sam said, shifting uncomfortably. "How long did he know?" DJ added. "The stories," Luca said suddenly. "All his pirate tales. The treasure hunts. The songs." His eyes staring at the ukulele in the chest. Were they just stories? Maya's star pendant pulsed faintly against her chest. Or were they real? The clearing mist swirled around them, and for a moment they all felt it. The weight of becoming part of something much larger than castaways, lost on an uncharted island in the sea of no return. Luca stepped closer to the chest, his hand moving unconsciously toward the ukulele. Can I hold it?" Leo lifted the instrument carefully. "I think he'd want you to have this," he said, placing the ukulele gently in Luca's hands. Leo picked up the tarnished gold pendant, shaped like a ship's wheel with small jewels set into the metal. The children gasped as they recognized their treasure hunt symbols etched into the colorful stones. Maya stared at the pendant with their symbols. Do you think he knew we'd end up here?" "But how could he know?" Noah asked, confused. "How did his chest find us?" Isla added softly. "Maybe that's why he gave us the treasure maps," Danny said quietly, "to get us ready for this." "Ready for what?" Luca asked, placing the ukulele carefully in his backpack. Eva reached into the chest again, as if searching for answers to their questions. She lifted out another folded parchment. It felt different from the pilot's journal, smoother, more deliberately preserved. As she unfolded it on the sand, everyone gathered closer. "It's another map," Eva said, studying the detailed parchment. "But this one's completely different." Where the pilot had sketched rough paths and landmarks, this map was precise, detailed. But what made them all lean in wasn't the terrain, it was what filled the sky above it. "Stars," Maya breathed. "He's drawn constellations across the sky." The Star Fox constellation dominated the top, its lines traced in silver ink. Below it, a path wound toward the mountain, but instead of normal landmarks, star patterns guided the way. "Trust the stars," Isla whispered suddenly. Everyone turned to her. "That's what Matteo said." At the bonfire, when he gave me my name, her voice grew stronger with the memory. "He said Brightwave would bring light when the stars seemed dark." Maya's fingers traced the constellation patterns. "He told me starlight would guide when maps fail." Her pendant warmed against her chest. "Follow the shadows between stars," Danny added quietly. "That's what he said about moon shadow. That I'd see paths others couldn't." Luca adjusted his backpack where the ukulele rested, remembering. "Lightning comes from the stars." "That's what he told me. Said I'd strike true when they aligned." Noah bounced slightly. "He kept telling me to feel my way, Quartermaster Quick. Said the stars know the path, even when you don't." Eva found notation at the map's bottom, written in careful script. "The stars guide when Earth compasses fail. Trust what you feel, not what you see." They studied the map more closely. The pilot's familiar path along the creek was there, overlaid with stars and symbols, connecting Earth and sky, revealing what lay beyond the ravine. "Look here," Sam pointed to where the mountain was drawn. "He's marked something at its center. A symbol like the ship's wheel," Maya said, looking at the pendant in Leo's hand. "The same shape." "And these," Noah said, pointing to markings on the map. "Our symbols. From the treasure hunt. They're all here." Eva leaned closer, tracing the connections with her finger. Around their familiar symbols, a larger spiral seemed to connect them all, converging at the mountain's heart. Leo stood slowly. As Eva traced the spiral pattern, something stirred in his chest. He held the pendant in his palm, feeling its weight. Marina looked at him with quiet certainty. "Looks like a captain's pendant if I ever saw one," she said. "I think he'd want you to have it." Leo nodded, lifting the chain over his head. The pendant settled against his chest, and suddenly he understood he wasn't just their captain anymore. Like the children with their treasures, he now carried something that bound him to this place, to this journey, to them. It felt like Matteo himself was there with him, stirring a memory from years ago. The old sailor's voice came back, quiet and certain. "Some captains follow stars, but the stars don't just guide. They remember, Leo. And sometimes they recognize their own." He'd thought it was sailors' nonsense back then. Now, with the pendant warm against his chest and the map showing stars instead of shores, he wondered if Matteo had been trying to tell him something else entirely. "He didn't just know about this place," Leo said, his voice steady but wondering. "He understood it." He looked toward the mountain, towering above the jungle canopy. The air grew still around them, and suddenly Matteo felt present. Not as a ghost, but as a guide who'd left them prepared to find their way. Leo surveyed their makeshift camp one last time. The fire was dead ash. Their salvaged supplies lay scattered on tarps and crates. "Finish packing what you can carry," he ordered. "Food, water, supplies. Electronics if they're still working." "We leave in 10 minutes. Sam was examining the recovered drone, trying the power button with no success. Noah hovered nearby, watching intently. "Controls are jammed," Sam said, "but the body's intact. With some work, we'll get it flying again," Noah said confidently. "How did it even get here?" Sam wondered. "We lost it at Solara." The group moved quickly. Sam secured his electronics into his pack. Eva wrapped the pilot's journal and maps, tucking them safely away. Marina checked the water supplies, DJ coiled rope and secured the tools. "Compass is still useless," DJ said, stuffing the solar charger into his pack. "We're trusting that star map." "It's all we have," Leo said firmly. Leo picked up the empty chest and set it beneath the shelter of a rock overhang, away from wind and tide. For a moment, his hand lingered on the compass rose latch. "Goodbye, old friend," he said quietly. "We'll finish what you started." The words hung in the salt air. Whatever Matteo had known, wherever he'd gone, they were following now. As they shouldered their loaded packs, Leo did a final count. "Everyone ready?" Nods all around. "Stay together." No wandering off. His gaze moved over the children. The jungle's thick. Easy to get lost. As they filed along the beach toward the tree line where the kids had followed the fox into the jungle, Maya glanced back at their camp, the shelter that had kept them alive, the beach where they'd washed ashore. It looked so small now, so fragile. "No turning back," Danny murmured beside her. No one answered. There wasn't anything to say. They entered the jungle, following the familiar path. Traces of their earlier passage remained, broken branches, disturbed leaves. As they approached the pilot's cave, the group slowed. Eva touched the stone entrance, her hand lingering. "This is where his trail begins," she said quietly, "where he left from." And never came back. The weight of that settled over them. They were about to follow the pilot's path, the one from which he never returned. Leo looked at each of them, adults who'd chosen this, children who hadn't. "We stay together," he said simply, "no matter what." They nodded, understanding, then turned toward the jungle where the creek disappeared into shadow. "Ready?" Leo asked. They turned to follow the creek inland, leaving the pilot's cave behind. The jungle waited, dense and steaming in the rising heat. Behind them, the cave mouth stood silent, its darkness holding the first echo on their journey. 100 years of waiting, now stirring awake with their footsteps. The pilot's words, his map, his discoveries, all just the beginning. The first whisper on a trail that would lead them deep into the heart of the island. Above them, unseen through the canopy, the stars marked their path.